Hey, what is going on, Beard Gang? It's Danny, the host of Redbeard Plays, and I hope you guys are doing well today. We have got a gaming video in store for you all today on Battlefield 6. So I hope you guys are ready to get into a little discussion about EA DICE's newest release, Battlefield 6. Before we do, of course, if you're new here, make sure you guys consider subscribing if you enjoy the content today. And if you are coming back, make sure that you like the video, share it with a friend and all that good stuff. Comment your thoughts down below and your opinions on Battlefield 6. But without further ado, today we're going to be talking about Battlefield 6. And I mentioned on my live stream the other day, I wanted to get a little more play time into it and kind of really get a feel and some grind time behind the wheel of this game before I really shared my thoughts. So because I've heard a lot of mixed things. I've heard either people absolutely love the game, and then I also have a friend of mine who said he's just not having fun with it. And in his own words, not mine, he doesn't know if it's because he's like a boomer dad now or what it is. He's just having a hard time having fun with the game. So I'm going to get into a little bit of things that I have criticisms on, and then things that I have a lot of high praise for, because for me, there's nothing really about this game mediocre in the middle. The things that I have criticism about seems to be what most people I talk to have criticisms of, and the other things that I love seems pretty unanimous why they're loved. Anyways, we're going to dive into it, and we're going to start with the criticisms because I want to get those out of the way. I don't want to leave a sour taste in anybody's mouth after we go over Battlefield 6 or discuss it. So I do want to say, first and foremost, before we get into any of the criticism, any of the feedback, this is coming from a Battlefield player that's been playing since Bad Company 2. While I'm not a great player, I do enjoy it, and I usually play for long hours whenever I do play. And I have a lot of very fond memories of Battlefield 3 especially, and then Battlefield 4. I have two younger cousins. We were playing Battlefield 3, and then when Battlefield 4 came out, we put a crazy amount of hours into those games, and we had some incredible moments, would later be known as Battlefield moments. So I love this franchise truly and dearly, and I've been waiting for a great Battlefield so we can shift our focus from Call of Duty when I do make videos into Battlefield, because really that's what I've always had more fun on in terms of just being casual and having fun. So keep this in mind. This is coming from a place of somebody that's played for a long time, and I am an infantry player. I don't play a lot of vehicle stuff, so the input, the criticisms, the praises, I'm not really gonna have a lot to say about vehicle gameplay. So if you're a vehicle player, this probably isn't the video for you. But if you're an infantry guy, or you're looking for an opportunity to branch away from Call of Duty with Black Ops 7 coming out this year, I know a lot of people are feeling extremely negatively about their experience with that beta. You know, I'm of the person that, hey, the more people on Battlefield servers, the better the experience is going to be. And I want you to kind of know what you're getting into. So as far as the criticisms go, so let's get into this. And I want to lead by saying this is, again, I'm a really tiny guy, you know, in a really big ocean of other content creators. So my voice will probably never make it across the desk of a developer that worked on this game. But if it does, just know this is all coming from a place of love and positive, constructive criticism, not hate. So I want to start with the bare minimum when you boot the game up, okay? The UI. I'm going to just say it like it is. The UI is atrocious. It's ugly, and it honestly goes back to probably Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is the first one that I really remember adopting this modernized, like, blocky UI, like when you're in on the main menu of like going up and down and sideways to pick your game mode, and if you're playing the campaign or whatever. I just think it's too much. I don't understand why all that is necessary, and this is no hate to the person that made it, but simplifying it is going to be a better option for you. And what I mean by that is if you look back at older games like Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Call of Duty like Black Ops 1, or Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, you have such a simple menu. You go in there, you have your campaign, you have your multiplayer. When you click multiplayer and you say find match, you have a list of modes, and you just go to the mode you want to play and you click it. And that's the way Battlefield 3 was, as well as Battlefield 4. It's just super simple. There's not a bunch of graphics and videos playing utilizing resources on your PC. It's just a simple text word that says what you're playing, and it throws the player right into it. All this other stuff, I think it's just overthinking, and it may be, and I don't want to put this out there in hopes that it happens, because I hope it doesn't. I hope it's the exact opposite, but it gives me vibes that in the future you're basically prepping us for a storefront for shit to sell us, and I really hope that's not the way it's going. As far as the game is concerned, maps. So all of the maps except for Empire State, New Sobek City, and Liberation Peak, I think is what it's called. Yes, Liberation Peak. So these 3 maps that I mentioned, these are honestly some of the worst maps in my opinion, as an infantry player. Again, this is coming from the perspective of an infantry player. Probably my biggest criticism around the maps specifically is the number of maps. I feel like to really come back and show the Battlefield fan base, like, we're here, we hear your feedback on these last couple games, you know, we deserve that criticism. Here's 10 to 12, I would say 12 maps would have been like crazy. If they would have had 12 maps, which I know these are larger maps, or for Battlefield maps are more like medium, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But so I know that stuff takes a while to design and to get put out there, but I feel like if they would have given us like 12 maps, and it'd be more reasonable 10 maps, it would have been a big thing. Battlefield 4 had 10 maps at launch. I think all of them except for maybe 2 or 3 of them were incredible maps. New Sobek City and Liberation Peak. Those 2 maps, I don't know what it is, but every time I get to those maps, whether I'm playing Conquest or Breakthrough or Rush or whatever those push modes are on those maps, where you have an attack team and a defending team, those maps bring the worst out of me. I do not like them. And I don't know if it's because they're too open. They feel too open, and you feel extremely exposed as an infantry player, which maybe that's where I just need to get good. And it may not be a map design issue. It might be a player issue. You know, I am an old grandpa gamer now these days. So, but the map size and layout of the maps for me is probably the biggest complaint when it comes to push modes, and that's kind of why I was mentioning those 2 maps, because when you're playing Rush or you're playing Breakthrough, I understand the idea is to create a funnel where you have your 2 points and you kind of have a choke zone, and your attacking team has to break through. I understand that that's the purpose of Rush, but I feel like all the maps do a pretty good job at giving at least alternative pathways, like Siege of Cairo, that kind of like urban desert cityscape map where there's just like a lot of alleyways and stuff, so you have different routes you can take. I don't know, maybe you guys that play more Rush than me like have a different opinion on that, but I think these maps just, they don't have very good routes, alternative routes, to kind of counter your defenders from other angles. You just kind of have to like keep throwing bodies until you break through, and it makes that mode a little less enjoyable for me personally. Now, with again, me being an infantry conquest player in mind, I do have some constructive criticism when it comes to the map design, the size of the maps. I do feel like it was a really big missed opportunity at a larger scale map option. I think that the redesigns on Battlefield 2042, if you guys played that game, I know I mentioned it a moment ago, I barely got to play it in comparison to previous Battlefields. Plus, it just objectively, it was a significantly worse Battlefield and did not live up to the hype or the standards. Now, I had about 180 hours of playtime on Battlefield 2042 once I was able to play it. Again, it took me like a year of updates, and the game's optimization was just atrocious. And so maybe they learned a lesson from that, and that's why they stepped back away from the size and the scale of the maps. Because once they kind of downscaled those conquest maps in Battlefield 2042, I was able to run the game. And so maybe that's kind of what they were getting into with Battlefield 6 and their decision to make them more like medium-sized maps, which is really strange to me, though, because if we go back to Battlefield 4 or Battlefield 3, I feel like some of the maps were larger than what they are in these newer Battlefield games. And what's really interesting about that is, especially with Battlefield 3 having maps that feel larger, the thing that's interesting to me about that is there was only 32 players on a server back then. So we've doubled the server size to 64, and at one point on Battlefield 2042 to 128, and it still feels like the maps are smaller. I don't know if it's because of how quickly your soldier can move and run around with the slide canceling and stuff like that, that makes it seem like the maps are smaller. I don't really know what the solution there is, I'm going to be honest, but I don't know that I'm the only one that feels that way. I think there's other people that feel that way as well. And that's probably my biggest thing that I think when I'm looking at the map and I'm looking at the pictures of the map whenever I pull it up to respawn in, or I'm actually like running around on the map. I sometimes feel like, man, I can get around to these objectives really fast and I don't even have to take a vehicle. And I didn't feel that way with Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4, with especially some of the DLC maps back in the day on Battlefield 4. It felt like it would take forever. Siege of Shanghai, for example, that was a base game map. That was one of the biggest selling points of Battlefield 4, with the giant skyscraper that you could destroy and it would collapse and change the entire layout of Objective B on Conquest. If you started at A in Conquest and you wanted to run all the way to D, it took a long time if you ran without swimming. And then even swimming across the water to get over to the other side, it still took a long time. And I don't really get that feeling whenever I'm playing Battlefield 2042 or Battlefield 6. I'm really hoping with future updates and new maps that they kind of expand and broaden the size of these maps. Enough talk about maps. I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing about that. I think the biggest elephant in the room, though, that everybody has criticism about, and EA's already addressed this, but it's the weapon bloom not working as intended. And so there's a glitch where the bloom, it doesn't function as intended. It's just the bullets are going everywhere. It's not hitting where you're aiming, or the bullets are ghosting, meaning it's hitting, but it's not registering. And so EA has addressed this. This is just a criticism I have to include in this, that this is something currently active in the game, but we have had confirmation it's coming in there is a fix coming in the future with a future patch. So this will be going away soon, but in the meantime, it is something that's highly annoying. Now, kind of the last major thing that I do have feedback on is I have two more things. So the one of the big things for me in regards to gameplay that I probably have the biggest feedback on is I really, really wish, and unfortunately this is just new age gaming, it's probably never going to go away with any game going forwards in the future, but slide canceling. I'm just so over it. I've been over it for 10 years or however long they've been putting that in games now, and honestly I hate Call of Duty for putting it in COD. And I know that EA including it, or DICE including it in this game, is just to kind of try to pull some of those Call of Duty players, the newer, younger COD players. But it's probably, for me, the most obnoxious thing about Battlefield 6. Whenever you're shooting first in a gunfight, and then somebody slide cancels and 180s on you and just beams you because they're breaking the hitbox up with their slide. If you're somebody that is trying to escape the slide cancel, unfortunately, it's here and it's not going anywhere. But I will say they did tone it down a lot from the Battlefield 6 beta. And so as far as movement goes in the game, everything else feels great. The leaning around corners and stuff, I wish they gave us a way to manually do that. Maybe there is a thing in the settings, but by default, out of the box, you have to be basically right up against the corner, and then you'll be prompted to lean by like the gun like tilting one way or the other. And then when you aim down sights, you'll lean around the corner. I wish there was a way to just hold like Q or E and like, you know, kind of like Rainbow Six Siege style and just manually lean. That would be awesome. I feel like that would have been a great thing to implement in Battlefield 6. Now, as far as progression and things like that, I feel like this is kind of a praise and a criticism. I feel like the progression system is really great, but to kind of like end the criticisms and then get into the positives, for me, the progression system has been a little glitchy. There's times where I'm trying to do the repair challenge for the engineer. It's not registering that I'm repairing, or I'm playing as a support guy and I'm trying to heal. I mean, it took me over a week to do the heal, the heal 2,000 points with the support class. And there was one day I dedicated like 3 or 4 hours to just running support, and I was still not getting points that were accruing on the challenge. So the challenge system is a little broken, and I've noticed like if it's happening, you're best off to just like either restart the game or change to a different class and work on a different challenge, because it's probably bugged until you reset the game. That seems to kind of be what fixes it for me. But I've seen other people talk about going into like the community made games and stuff like that, or it'll only work on your squad mates. I've seen all kinds of different stuff. For me, whenever the challenges are working, it's working for everybody, whether you're my squad or not. When they're not working, they're just bugged and you have to basically restart the game. So that's another big criticism is, you know, you shouldn't have to play a match to know whether or not your unlock progression or your progression of your unlock is working or not. But with that being said, to get into the positives, we'll just pivot right from that into the positive side of that. That I think the progression system coming back in the way that it has is extremely well done. So huge kudos to the guy that pitched that and held that to the standard, because I think that it's what Battlefield has missed. Just getting kills to unlock camos and stuff, it's just the lamest thing. You know, master the weapon and unlock camos. I think that's a great idea. I think leveling your gun up through kills to unlock attachments, which was a thing in Battlefield 2042, but there's more attachments and more variety in how you can play the game. To see what they've done with this, with unlocking new tools or class items by, you know, doing weapon challenges, or for example, like I just said, the repair tool. If you want to level up your engineer class, you have to do, you know, get 2,000 repair points to then progress to the next level of the unlock system. Or if you want to unlock a new skin for your character, you have to get 50 kills with a grenade. Things like that really give a player motivation and reason to put a lot of time and invest energy into learning a class and getting good with it and playing the role of that class. So the unlock system, though, I've noticed, especially amongst my friends, people are more motivated to play support. So the progression system is awesome. So kudos to whoever implemented that. I think it does a good job at generating team play, as well as giving the player motivation to put a lot of time into your game, which is what you want as a game developer. Now, I don't have the latest and greatest PC. I do have, so to give you guys my specs. I'll put them on the screen so you can look and see what I have in my system and what I'm running. I've been running, when I'm not streaming this game, at basically its max settings, with the exception of like God rays and stuff. And I'm getting 100 frames, 120 frames. I'm not somebody that needs, 240 frames, and all that stuff. I just need it to run at 100 frames and be smooth and no screen tearing and not crash every other match. And I gotta say, coming from Battlefield 2042, my expectations were pretty low, but the optimization and the ability to run this game smoothly, it is above and beyond anything that I ever hoped for with this game. I've had no issues with running it. Once I got that whole, anti-cheat stuff, whatever that mode is that you have to enable on your computer. I'm drawing a blank right now on what it's called, but I'll put it on the screen. You have to enable that. And once I got all that figured out and squared away, I've had nothing but a great experience. I think I've had 1 or 2 crashes while playing. Otherwise, it's ran great. So huge shout out and kudos to the development team that manages the optimization. You guys are awesome. Now, to loop back around to the Bloom conversation. Gunplay, when Bloom is working as it's intended, it's probably one of the best first-person shooters I've ever played, as far as how the gunplay feels, the reload animations, the unlock system for weapon attachments, and how they impact the ability to hit your target versus not have as much weapon control and things like that. It's without a doubt the most enjoyable first-person shooter I've played in a long time that feels smooth when it's working as intended. So if you want great gunplay when it's working as intended, this is hands down probably one of the best first-person shooters you'll play this year, if not for the indefinite future until something better comes out. I definitely don't think Battlefield 7's gunplay is going to compete. If you want something that's a little bit more simulation, again, it's not realistic, it's not a mil sim, but it's like an arcade sim. I would say this is like arcade sim level of gunplay, and it's done extremely well. Biggest hype, and we talked about it a little bit already, but the biggest hype that I have is the class system. Get the fuck out of here, Specialist. I'm over it. I'm glad you guys are gone. I hope you never come back with your cringy ass statements after the matches are over. And I hope that EA DICE has learned nobody wants that shit. Nobody wants that. And I get it. The community gets it. It was used as a tool to set up for microtransactions. So I'm like really excited to see that as of now, you guys don't have specialists. There's not a shop in the game that's, going to be using those specialists to, basically as an offshoot to sell crap. And I hope you guys keep it that way. We talked a bit about maps and map design in the criticism section of this video. I do want to loop back around that under the praises section, and I do want to actually praise on the other hand, offer some praise to you guys that design the maps, because the maps are beautiful. This is hands down the prettiest game that you guys have ever made. I think the next closest contender, don't get me wrong, Battlefield 3 still holds its own. I have booted it up in recent years on PC and Xbox, and it still carries itself with pride in terms of being visually appealing. Battlefield 4, obviously it's a gorgeous game. The audio is great, and the same with Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5. But this game, the skybox, it looks like I walked outside and looked up. It's insane. And then when you get in gunfights or you roll in the mud, your gun gets covered in blood or it gets covered in water or mud. And I think that's such a cool and powerful thing, because it creates that sense of immersion and urgency to react and to move or take cover or keep firing, whatever. I think that they've done a great job with creating a powerful atmosphere. And I think it was Narrow Cinema talking about the diversity of the maps and how exciting versus boring are they going to be after you've played the maps 100 times, 200 times, 300 times, if this is a game you're intending to play for 5 years. And if it's going to be supported for that long. You know, that's my question is, the maps that come in the future have to be very unique and create a sense of diversity in your play experience from match to match. So that's probably that's a mixed feedback thing, I guess. But Manhattan Bridge, Mirac Valley, Operation Firestorm, if you're playing in vehicles, vehicle gameplay, I've seen some criticism for Operation Firestorm that it's slow and it's boring. That map was not designed for infantry in mind. That map was designed for tank battles and helicopters. You got to put yourself in context of Battlefield 3 whenever that map came out. That map was designed to really emphasize and showcase tank battles and helicopters. And I think that with the pacing of Battlefield 6, it does really, really good as a current day map. And Siege of Cairo, or Cairo, or however you say it, that map is incredible. I will say, if you get pushed back to your HQ though, it's a rough one. But that map is great because it has a lot of diversity of large roadways for tank battles mixed in with alleyways that can create alternative pathways to flank those tanks as an engineer, or to take middle objectives that are in those alleyways that kind of opens up into more of an open area. I think that's probably my favorite urban map in the game. I think that it does a good job at diversifying play styles and giving people options of how they want to play. I think the only thing is there's no helicopters or aerial vehicles, but you know, I don't see that being a good map for aerial vehicles. But in terms of aerial vehicles and land vehicles being in an urban setting, I think Manhattan Bridge does an awesome job with map pacing, variety of gameplay. You can have vehicles or you can play infantry, and it feels really balanced. I've never felt like that map, you know, that there wasn't an alternative route. If, you know, you're getting wrecked by a chopper up on B, up on the roof, you know, you can either try to combat that thing as an engineer, or you can just say, hey man, it's not worth the fight and bleeding the tickets. We're gonna dip out and go down and fight for C under the, you know, inner part of that bridge support, or we're gonna go, you know, back to E and kind of like push that like gas station area. So there's a lot of like variety in how you can approach these newer maps, and I think that that's probably what makes this game that much more enjoyable than just like the gunplay and stuff too. So I know this was like a really long, extensive delve into some of my criticisms and praises of Battlefield 6, but I feel like important for me to put out there like how great I think this game is, because I have been wanting a good Battlefield game for an extremely long time since I got into content creation. And you know, I've streamed Battlefield 4 back in the day. You know, like when I say back in the day, I mean like, you know, it had been out for a few years, and the like hype behind it was not there anymore. And in Battlefield 1, I didn't have internet to stream. In Battlefield 5, I don't know. I pre-ordered it and played it, but it wasn't pulling me in like these other, you know, like Battlefield 6 or Battlefield 1 did. I played a lot of Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4. In 2042, that was going to be the game that I invested years into focusing on, and my PC couldn't even run it. And like in terms of specs, I technically had a better computer, and so I haven't had a great Battlefield game to like invest in, and I can tell this is going to be a great game. And I kind of talked about it, but I do want to take a moment and just say that we do have a lot of Battlefield content that's getting ready to come out, which I think is super exciting that they're going to be releasing stuff already for Battlefield 6. We are expecting to get multiple seasons. I just did a quick look, and they've for sure announced Rogue Ops, California Resistance, and Winter Offensive. So season 1 is going. It's a free post-launch expansion. So I'm looking at it on here. It's a roadmap. So season 1, we're gonna have 3 drops. So you have Rogue Ops, California Resistance, and Winter Offensive. October 28th is the Rogue Ops drop. We're gonna get a new map, Strike Point, which is a new mode. We're gonna get a vehicle, a gun, an AR, I should say, or a carbine. I'm sorry, a pistol and a sniper rifle, and then rail cover and LPVD. And that's gonna be October 28th. And then November 18th. So these are like all coming really quick in succession. So that's exciting. We have California Resistance, which has another map, another mode, and 3 guns and an attachment. And then it says and more. So whatever that means. And then December 9th will be our next one, which is Ice Lock Empire State, which I almost feel like that's going to be like the Manhattan Bridge map, but snow. Could be wrong, but that's kind of what I'm predicting. Looks like it's going to be a winter event and ice climbing axe for a melee weapon, which, whatever. But I think this is an acceptable season 1 content drop. I just, it's a bummer they're drip feeding it, but that's kind of the difference in free content versus paying like for a premium pass and getting large drops, you know, every quarter. I'm just excited that we've already got content that's about to come out before the month is even over. The game's been out for a week, a little over a week, and we're already getting announcements on new content. So I'm super stoked. I think this game's going to have a lot of support. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you're enjoying your time on Battlefield 6 if you're already playing it. If you plan on playing it, I hope you have a great time. And if you want to play and hang out with me and the Beard Gang community, I do stream a couple days a week. Tentatively, I have a schedule where I stream in the evenings on Friday and Sunday. Sometimes I stream other days of the week. I always post it in Discord if I'm going to stream. So just join our Discord. It's linked down below, and the schedule and everything's on my Twitch page. So check that out. If you're a subscriber on Twitch or Kick, you can come play if we've got room, or we've got chat rooms in Discord where you can squad up with other Battlefield people and hang out and play. But anyways, though, I'll shut up and let you guys get back to Battlefield. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video here on Redbeard Plays.